I stepped into exam room 2 of the Westwood Medical Center, clipboard in hand, and immediately felt a shift in the air. The overhead lights buzzed faintly, and the faint smell of antiseptic lingered in a small climate-controlled space. My name is Marissa. I'm 29 and I've worked as a nurse here for almost 5 years. I've seen a lot: routine, physicals, emergencies, awkward slip, UPS, but I never quite had a day like this. Today, I was assigned to assist with a standard cardiovascular follow-up for a patient named Mr. Heron. He was 54, a quiet, reserved man who usually came in for routine blood pressure checks and monitoring after his mild heart scare last year. I'd seen him before, nothing unusual, but this morning, as I glanced over his file and walked through the door, something about him, about the whole room, fell off. He was already sitting on the exam bed, propped up against the elevated backrest, wearing a thin, cotton gown. His posture was stiff and his fingers fidgeted in his lap. When he looked at me, his expression was unreadable. Nervous perhaps, or just distracted. "Good morning, Mr. Heron." I greeted him warmly. "How are you feeling today?" He nodded once. "Funny, just a little tired." His voice was low and uneven, and I noticed the way his eyes darted around the room before settling on the floor. I smiled gently, trying to put him at ease. "That will just get you prepped for the doctor. Won't take long." I moved toward the monitor and began checking the equipment. As I adjusted the wires and smoothed the sheets beneath him, my eyes unintentionally dropped through the thin gown. I caught sight of something that made me freeze. It wasn't intentional. It was just the way the gown had fallen open slightly, but I saw enough to feel heat rise to my cheeks. I turned away quickly. "Be professional, Marissa," I reminded myself. "This is anatomy. It's normal. You're trained for is." Still, I felt a twinge of unease I couldn't shake. "I clear my throat. Let's get you into position for the doctor." As I stepped forward again to adjust the blanket covering his legs, he shifted a little too quickly. The gown slipped off one side completely, exposing him fully. I gasped reflexively and turned my head away. "Oh, I'm sorry," I stammered, trying to keep my tone calm. Let me help you with this." He fumbled to cover himself with the edge of the blanket, visibly mortified. "I didn't mean." "It's all right," I said quickly. "Let's just focus on." Before either of us could say anything else, the door creaked open behind me. A voice followed. Casual but curious. "Oops, sorry. Didn't realize this room was in use." It was Lena, another nurse, popping her head in. She paused briefly, eyes scanning the scene, then quickly excused herself, shutting the door behind her with a soft click. Mr. Harlan's face was flushed, and he stared at his lap, avoiding eye contact. "I'm really sorry," he mumbled. I tried to focus to remain composed. "It happens," I said, though my mind was still racing. "Let's finish getting you ready." As I turned to grab a fresh set of linens, I felt something light brush against my hand. I froze his hand. It had grazed mine. Maybe it was accidental, but it lingered just long enough to make me doubt. I slowly pulled my hand back. There was a strange energy in the air now, like something unsaid had been shared. I kept my eyes on the supplies in front of me, doing my best to keep my voice steady. "We're nearly done," I said, attaching the last lead to the monitor. Just then, the door opened again. This time, thankfully, it was Dr. Patel, clipboard in hand. "Everything okay in here?" he asked with his usual friendly demeanor. "Yes, doctor," I said immediately, stepping back from the bed. "Mr. Harlan is ready for you." I didn't wait for further instruction. I exited quickly, closing the door behind me and exhaling hard. My hands were still trembling slightly. Back at the nurse's station, I tried to shake it off. I reminded myself it was probably nothing, just a weird moment. Still, it stayed with me as I went about my other duties, taking vitals, updating charts, checking in with new patients. Later that afternoon, I got a message on my work tablet from the front desk. Patient Heron has requested nurse Marissa specifically for his follow-up visit tomorrow. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Why me? Had I done something wrong? Was he just embarrassed and wanted continuity? Or was there something else at play? That accidental touch, the lingering look. It all seemed too intentional now. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I lay in bed replaying the scene, not just the accidental exposure, but the way he looked at me when I helped him, the way his hand had lingered, and worse, how I hadn't stopped him, how I hadn't said anything, that I told myself it was nothing, that I was being paranoid. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. And the next morning, as I stood in front of his exam room again, my heart beat just a little faster than usual. By the time I reached the clinic the next morning, I had already rehearsed a dozen different ways to handle Mr. Harlan. Be professional. Be distant, keep it focused. That I wore my most neutral expression, tied my hair up a little tighter, and reminded myself I was a nurse, not a character. In one of those awkward patient anecdotes that get passed around on night shifts, the morning moved slowly. I checked vitals, organized discharge paperwork, answered calls from patients needing medication refills. That I avoided glancing at the schedule too often, but my eyes kept drifting toward the clock. Anyway, at exactly 10:05 a.m., the front desk sent me a direct message. Patient Heron. In exam room 4. He's asked for you specifically. There, it was again, requesting me, not just once, but now twice. I inhaled sharply and stood, clipboard in hand. This time, I promised myself I would make everything unmistakably clear. I knocked gently before entering. Good morning, I said briskly, stepping into the room. Mr. Harlan sat on the exam table already in a hospital gown. His posture was relaxed, too relaxed, legs swinging slightly, hands folded calmly in his lap, like he was waiting for a casual chat instead of a medical evaluation. His gray-fed hair was slicked back neatly, and there was something different in his expression today, not nervous, not embarrassed, controlled. I'm glad it's you, he said with that unsettling ease. I didn't respond to that. Let's focus on getting you prepped for today's evaluation, I said, moving toward the monitor cart. He watched me as I worked, eyes following every movement. I kept my actions clinical and efficient, tightening the cuff around his arm, checking the oxygen levels, making quick notes on his chart. But then he spoke again softly, like it was a secret just for me. I've been thinking about you. My jaw tightened as I finished attaching the last lead, before answering, keeping my tone measured. Mr. Harlan, I'm here to help with your care. Personal comments are inappropriate during medical appointments. He didn't flinch. In fact, he looked almost amused. I figured you'd say that. His eyes locked on mine, holding them longer than necessary. The tension in the room began to thicken, crawling under my skin. Before I could speak again, the door opened behind me. My body tensed instinctively, hoping for a doctor, but instead, a woman stepped in. Mid-40s, smartly dressed in business attire, not a lab coat, sharp cheekbones, perfectly styled auburn hair. Her gaze swept the room like a scanner, moving from me to Mr. Harlan. Pausing slightly longer on each of us than seemed polite. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Breathing that I couldn't let this continue. Whatever this was, it wasn't harmless. That I walked straight to Carla, our shift lead, and kept my voice low. Can someone else take over Mr. Harlan's follow-up tomorrow? I asked. He's made me uncomfortable. Carla's brow furrowed. I need to escalate something. Not yet, I said quickly. Just I prefer some distance, she sighed, tapping through the schedule. We're short tomorrow, but I'll try to move things around. I thanked her and went back to work, But the sense of relief never fully came. The next morning, I scanned that assignment board and felt my stomach drop. Still assigned, I took a deep breath, gathered my things, and made my way down the hall. This time I was prepared to shut things down. When I entered the room, Mr. Harlan wasn't lounging like before. He was sitting upright, staring out the window, his jaw set tighter than I'd seen. "That I need to speak with you," he said, without turning. I stayed near the door. "About your care?" "No, about yesterday and about what happened before that. I'm here to assist with your care, Mr. Harlan. If you have something else to discuss, you'll need to contact clinic administration." He turned then, eyes locking on mine. "You don't have to pretend. I know you felt it, too." The chill was immediate. "I think you've misunderstood," I said, voice sharp. "Whatever you think happened didn't." He leaned forward slightly. "You didn't walk away the first time." And that's when the door behind me creaked open again. His wife stepped in, silently.